One of the most compelling arguments against the purchase of an homage watch is the idea that you'll always want the real thing, and if you save up for it for a long time, it'll be that much speedier when you get it. But what happens when you really can't get that model anymore? When the model you really want is a limited edition, or it was limited quantity, or when it's risen in price so much and it's no longer really reasonable to save for? Or better yet, what if it's all of those things? That's the question being addressed by the $180 Sugess ST19, which has taken heavy inspiration from the Breitling Top Time Deus limited edition, which are now sitting about $8,000 for a used example in not even great condition. Now, to talk about this watch at all, we really need to talk about the history of AliExpress. AliExpress is a land of confusion to many. There are new brands and old brands popping up every day, with new models that look like old models popping up every hour, and at price points between $10 and thousands of dollars. But one brand that stands tall amongst the crowd is something called Seagull. Seagull actually started out by buying out an entire factory worth of equipment from a Swiss brand that went under. From there, they created the most iconic Chinese watch probably ever made, the Seagull 1963, and powered it with their new in-house hand-wound ST1901 mechanical chronograph movement. The movement there is, to this date, the best mechanical chronograph that you can get under $500. And, mostly because there's basically no competition. This model, the Sugess ST19, implements the beautiful ST1901 from the Seagull watch group into what is essentially a copy of their Seagull 1963, a facelift that looks exactly like a discontinued Breitling, complete with the unique handset and styling. On screen now are the measurements and specifications. So let's talk about Sugess, the brand. Sugess is a Chinese micro brand operating largely on AliExpress to bring quality components and movements to the $150 to $250 price bracket. While many of the designs are heavily inspired homages, they do have quite a few original designs. The brand is really known for bringing incredible value, and they have many mechanical chronographs under $200, like this one. Real functioning tourbillons for only $550, and much else that really is hard to argue with for value. They won't be a name that comes up with, Vacheron, but they do hold their own relative to Chinese brands. But what about the value of this watch? Mechanical chronographs generally have a high price floor. The cheapest quality movement, $500, $1,000. Of course, there's one outlier that you already know, the Seagull ST1901 and its variants. And man, look at that. Found on watches as low as $150, any watch containing this movement is pretty much already a great value for money because there's nothing really to compete with it. Add on top the Sugess's ST19 design cues and crystal material, which is sapphire, and well-made strap. The value proposition is really great. It's hard to argue with the value of this watch. So let's move on to the case. One facet, or lack thereof, of the case is that it's extremely simple, and it's simply finished as well. Well, yes, Breitling also did the same thing on their watch, which this is designed of. It's still apparent that the finishing done is quite simple, and the case is as well. It's just very round, it's all polished, and there's nothing really to write home about. There is sapphire on the front and back, which is a great touch, especially because of how great that movement looks. But everything else about it is pretty standard. The crown has a signed star and has a coin edge that's very easy to operate and use, which you're going to have to do often to wind the watch. Unfortunately, there's only 50 meters of water resistance, so don't take in your water, but that's sort of expected for an affordable chronograph. Let's talk about the dial and hands now. The beauty of this watch is pretty hard to deny. The dial, while not originally, is... Let's talk about the dial and hands now. The dial, while not original, is executed very well. The subdials have a subtle texture to them, and the markers are all applied with precision. Everything's well aligned and in the right place. The tachometer is printed cleanly, and the lightning bolt second hand for the chronograph is really fun. The colors all work with the champagne dial to create a very cohesive package. The color match strap is fun, but I do often opt for the classier Milanese bracelet, which is also high quality and included with the watch. One thing that you'll never unsee once I say it, and I'm sorry for even saying it, is the terrible font that they use to write mechanical chronograph down at 6 o'clock. It's somewhere between a takeout restaurant and James Cameron's Avatar, but the font just really doesn't fit the watch, and it kind of takes away from it once you see it. But besides that, the dial and hands, really beautiful. Now, there is Lume on the main hour and minute hands and the hour markers, but it's not particularly strong. It does have a light blue color, which leads me to believe it's actually a high quality Swiss Lume, but there's not a lot of it, so it does fade relatively quickly. But to have it included at all at this price point and for this style of watch is a plus in my books. The main star of this watch, let's talk a little bit more about the ST19 on the back. It's on full display with sapphire crystal showing it off. It's finished with various patterns and colors, and the swan neck chronograph looks as good as it ever has. There's a 40-hour power reserve, and winding it is extremely easy, and so is using the pushers. The movement's also easy to adjust, and I really have no complaints with this model. Including with the watch is an excellent rubber strap, matching the bright orange hints on the dial and a nice Milanese bracelet as well. The rubber strap is tapered, the Milanese is not, but both match the aesthetics very well. And the watch has a 20mm lug width, so it's really easy to change it out if you have a leather or a rally strap you think would look better. Either way, both straps are really nice. This rubber strap is tapered, this Milanese is not tapered, so that's something to keep in mind. But they're both really high quality and I have no complaints. They look great and feel great on the wrist. So how does it fit? One thing to note is that on this watch, the lugs protrude a great deal. I wouldn't recommend this watch to anyone with small wrists. You can see that even on my average 7-inch wrist, the 50mm lug to lug is approaching the edges of my arm. Besides that, it really doesn't sit abnormally tall or dig in anywhere. It's very comfortable on the wrist, partly because of how rounded everything is. Here you can see it on my orange rubber strap that was included, and now I'll show it on the Milanese. And here it is on the Milanese strap. As you can see, this really elevates the style of it. I wouldn't want to wear that orange strap into, the office, but this one, it works out just great. As you can see, it's really well made as well, and it's not tapered, but still looks great. How versatile is this watch? From this video alone, I wouldn't be surprised if you were to guess that this watch isn't very versatile, but that's perhaps misleading. Remember once again that this is the bright orange strap, but it even comes with a Milanese and it's easy to put it on leather. On the silver Milanese, it's really easy to wear in pretty much any environment. So that's a limitation, but with the orange strap, it's fun. You can wear it in super casual environments. On the silver strap, it suddenly becomes dressy, and on leather, the same thing. So you could really wear it to the office. Now for the dreaded category, Originality. There's no gold medals being handed out here. This watch is a faithful homage to a Breitling. There aren't really any changes besides the movement choice and open caseback, which aren't really to be counted because they're more by necessity. It steals almost all of its looks. So here's the watch score. Scoring 48, this watch actually delivers pretty good value. So what's the verdict? In my opinion, every watch collector should at some point have a watch containing this ST19 in their collection, or at least one of its variants. It's just simply hard to beat. It's beautiful and functional, and it has a ridiculous price tag with it. That being said, this isn't the only example of that. Watches from Seagull, watches from Sugess, many of them have the same basic case and the same movement with a different dial on it. So if this isn't your style, just give it a look around. There will be one that fits. But if you do like this style, this is an absolute recommendation from us. The Sugess ST19 has excellent value and it looks beautiful, and we really recommend it. Thanks for checking out the channel, and make sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.